welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Miller. I'm a stroke survivor and grateful recovering alcoholic. Today's topic is my mission statement. Yesterday, I mentioned building things like values and goals for ourselves, the way that we would for a company, the way companies and businesses do. So I wanted to go a little further down this road and talk about building my mission statement. So there's an Austrian psychiatrist named Viktor Frankl, and he said, those who have a why can bear with almost any how. And I'm going to come back to that later in the episode. But I mentioned the other day that I'm starting to write a book. And I love to write. I always have. I wrote poetry from middle school through my late 30s. And I did a lot of writing at work, mostly because I really enjoyed it. And let's see, it was my way of journaling, really. It was unintentionally therapeutic for me. I wrote about pain and love and trauma. And I remember that starting this when I was like in 7th grade. I remember writing my first poem and I just really liked it. And so I just kept going, and every time I would experience anything, whether it was, puppy love in middle school or anything like that, I would write about it because they always ended badly, just for me, my experience at least. So when I stopped drinking when I was 42, two things happened. The pain that I was experiencing lessened, and I was also no longer sitting still so much with a glass of wine in my hand. So less time to write. As soon as I walked away from my career, the one thing that I started doing right away was writing. And I continuously talk about my remarkable tablet. I need to contact these people and see if they'll sponsor the episode, because I would be nowhere without this remarkable tablet. The podcast was a perfect way for me to start writing about what's going on inside of me now, the same way that I was all the way back when I was in 7th grade. It's just always been a good way for me to get that stuff out. And so also with the podcast, being able to use my voice as, the medium to share what I wrote has been really helpful for me. I was really happy that I found some kind of solution that didn't aggravate my head. So I was also thinking that with the tools that I have, this is the perfect opportunity for me to write even more. And I've always had this idea about writing poetry and submitting them to magazines or, some publisher. And then when I got sober, I started thinking more along the lines of like writing a book. But I thought, who wants to hear about my life? And I did attempt a couple times when I was still drinking to write something that was kind of a narrative, and I just didn't think it was really that great. I didn't have a lot of education in writing because I was a math major, so I was using the other side of the brain. which is still questionable if that side of the brain was was functioning fully. But I did graduate as a math major. Anyway, I stray. So I have this remarkable tablet, and it allows me to write stuff down, but still be able to digitize it because I can export whatever I wrote in the tablet, export it to a computer, and it'll export as typed text if I want to. And I can also use dictation in Microsoft Word. So again, I have the tools to take this a little bit further and maybe explore this idea of writing a book. So, I've got the means to write a book without hurting my head. So the next thing I needed were some pointers. So I listened to, most recently, last week even, I listened to Stephen King's book on writing. That's what it's called, On Writing. And I listened to half of a book. I'm not done with it yet. I think I need to sit down with like something to write with to listen to the rest of this book. But the other one is called Elements of Style by White and Strunk. And so then next I have in line a book called Bird by Bird that was recommended by Stephen King's book. And then I'm also taking several LinkedIn learning courses, just listening to them, of course. So the course that I'm listening to now, I do have a point, I promise. The course I'm listening to now is called Writing, the Craft of a Story. So as I was listening to this course, the instructor was talking about what's the point. So when you're thinking about your book, people always say, what's the plot? What's the theme? She was talking about that stuff, but she has this whole section on what's the point. And I was just immediately flown back in time to when I was at work at my latest job, and I had this amazing mentor, and he would say to me, "What's the point, Rachel?" So any kind of marketing project that we were working on, mostly for me, it was my presentations that I had to do for leadership. He would walk through the slides with me, and he would say for each slide, what's the point? What's the point of the slide? And I would say, oh, well, I'm showing that these are the metrics, of whatever marketing methodologies we're using, and how successful or not that they are. And he would say, but what's the point? Your slide is saying this already, but what's the point of saying that? What are you trying to convey to the person that you're speaking to? What is the point of telling them what those numbers are? So, same thing. What is the point of the book? And I was really enlightened by this course. I mean, I'm only like 25% through it, but that I can't just talk about my experiences. I need to have a point, like what am I trying to convince the reader to change their mind about? Or what is actually happening? I can't write a book about all this stuff that happened in my life. I need to actually talk about something that's happening now, as the actual story. It would get kind of boring. So the course says these kinds of questions. What is the theme of the book? what are you saying about human nature? What is the protagonist's inner issue? What's the escalating problem? What's at stake? What is the story leading up to? Etc. As I was listening and thinking through the answers to these questions, I paused the course and I was thinking about how I would answer these questions according to this book that I want to write. And I thought, well, since this book idea right now, and it could change, of course, because it's allowed to, since this book is a memoir, these questions are quite literally asking about my self narrative. Answering these questions will help me not only write the plot of the book, but it'll also help me to better understand who I am now and how far I've come, and lay the foundation for the second half of my life, not just the outline of the book. So by answering these questions, it's forcing me to consider my purpose as a stroke survivor in recovery, a recovering alcoholic, and it's allowing me to write my mission statement, for my life. And by threading together my past with my purpose and the point of this book, I can deeply connect with my identity. And my identity is exactly what is in turmoil right now. I'm 49 years old. I've been focused on my career since I was like fresh out of college. And I've raised two babies who are now flourishing in their 20s, living their independent lives. And I've risen from the ashes of alcoholism and mental health problems. I was at the top of my game at work, and it's like, I was given a swift kick in the hiney, and it's like I was told, okay, Rachel, well, you did it. You came out of being a active suffering alcoholic. You came out of all of these mental health challenges. Your weight is healthy again. You're eating right. You're doing everything that you should be doing. So let's throw a wrench into everything. How about this? You're going to get a stroke, right? You haven't even gotten to age 50. Here's a stroke. We're going to take away your vision, and let's see what you can do now. That's what I feel like. I feel like it's like, all right, you think you can handle that? Here, try this. That's what it feels like. So anyway, this book can't just be about my experiences. Something needs to be happening. And I need to know, as much as I need to know the book's purpose, I need to know my life's purpose. And I'm just at this pivotal point in my life where it makes sense that I'm reviewing all of this stuff, If I had thought, oh, I'm going to write a book a couple years ago, before I had my stroke, and I'm a career woman and I'm trying to, uh, be all that I can be at work, I would have been lost as far as, what am I living for? What is my purpose? I don't know that my purpose would have aligned with my behavior and my actions. So, to figure out my life's purpose, I need to answer this question: am I living my life on purpose? And that's what I mean by, a few years ago, being a marketing director, and I'm putting my all into what I'm doing. Um, but was my life's purpose to be the best darn marketing director in the world, you know? So this is interesting. This is what's so amazing. So as I've been going through all of this today and thinking about, yesterday I talked about building goals and values and stuff, just like for yourself, just like you would a company. I thought, well, how about a mission? How about building a mission for ourselves? So I go back and I pull out this book that I ordered on Amazon on December 7th, 2019. So 2019, Christmas time, I had 8 people on my marketing team, and I just care about all of them like sisters. I feel more like they're my daughters, and some sisters, but I got this book, and it's called The Self-Love Workbook. And I loved it so much that I bought 12 copies of it. And I gave one to each of the 8 people on my staff. And I gave one to my daughter and one to my niece. I may have given some to all the nieces. I'm not sure at this point who I gave them to. Maybe some of my sponsees. I'm not sure. But I know I had one left over. So um, I don't know if anybody gave the workbook a shot, but I did. And it has some guidance for walking through like self-knowledge, self-respect, and all this stuff. And there's this one section on writing a mission statement for yourself. So today I looked up what I wrote as my mission statement in 2019. So this was 2 years before my stroke. I was flourishing in my marketing and communications career, and this is what I wrote as my mission statement in 2019. My mission statement: my purpose is to help and lift others. My calling is self-reflection and translating that into words, whether in poetry, conversation, work, or AA. I feel most fulfilled when I find the powerful way of expressing a thought and it helps another person or solves a problem. I want to reduce stresses and live relaxed and serene to keep my mind calm and reasonable. I want to be remembered as kind, loving, thoughtful, and smart. And so that's it. If I didn't believe in a higher power, which I do, I'd be pretty hard pressed to ignore the fact that I'm doing today in recovery exactly what I wrote down in 2019. I mean, it's I was almost like just stunned when I read that. So it looks like I don't need to write a mission statement, because this mission statement I wrote in 2019 still applies. And it's just fascinating. It's fascinating because, if I go back to this quote by Viktor Frankl that says, "Those who have a why can bear with almost any how." Knowing the challenges of my life that have happened with alcoholism, mental health, and a stroke that has left me with neurological vision impairment and some cognitive problems, all of that has parachuted me right into the core of my mission statement from 2019. And that is very inspiring for me today. So thank you for listening. Think about what your mission statement is. Some of the questions that you can answer are, what is your life's purpose? When do you feel most fulfilled? What do you want to accomplish? What is your calling? How do you want to live your life? And how do you want to be remembered? So think about it. It has left me super inspired today. So good luck with it. And thanks for listening. I'll talk to you tomorrow.